God of War is one of the most iconic games ever made, and while it does have amazing story, beautiful graphics, and intense gameplay, it is not a perfect game, and there are several issues that you must know before you buy it. So is it still worth buying today? Let's find out. But God of War is an action-adventure game set in an open world inspired by Norse mythology. The story will follow Kratos, a former Greek god, and his young son, and throughout this journey, you'll encounter various gods, monsters, and mythical beings, each of them with their own unique challenges and dangers. And the game is known for its storytelling, deep character development, and stunning visuals, where the game combines intense combat with exploration and puzzle solving, providing a very compelling and immersive experience. But in terms of the main gameplay, it is all about exploration, combat, and puzzle solving. And combat is a massive part. You will have a magical weapon called the Leviathan Axe, which can be thrown and recalled at will. And as you progress through the game, you'll unlock even more abilities, combos, and magical attacks that makes the combat very complex but also very satisfying. For instance, you can use the Leviathan Axe to freeze enemies, which would set them up for a follow-up attack, or you could switch to a Blade of Chaos to deal with multiple foes at once. The game will also involve a significant amount of exploration. The world is semi-open, which allows you to explore different realms, find hidden treasures, and even uncover lore. Along the way, you'll encounter environmental puzzles that requires you to use your special abilities. You might need to freeze a gear with your axe, or use arrows to activate certain mechanics. The game also features many different systems that enhances the overall replayability. This will include side quests and even optional boss battles, offering rewards that can significantly boost your character's power. There are also hidden collectibles and even lore that'll deepen the story and provide further context. But one of the main things about the game is the progression system. So you'll level up through experience points gained from combat and completing missions. So in the early game, you'll be introduced to the basic mechanics and story, where your abilities are fairly limited. The combat is straightforward and the enemies are relatively easy. But as you progress, you'll unlock new abilities, weapons, and gear, making the combat more complex but also very challenging. By the end game, you'll have access to a big range of skills, including powerful runic attacks and even special abilities. At this point, the enemies are also way more challenging, and you must use a good level strategy in order to take them down. The main storyline is also a massive part of the game. It delves deep into Norse mythology and explores the relationship between a father and son. And as you progress through the storyline, you'll encounter various gods and mythical creatures, adding a ton to the narrative and providing context to the overall world. In addition to the main storyline, there are also many side missions, provide additional context to the world and the characters, offer insights into the lore, and even backstories to different figures. And completing them will often reward in very valuable items, experience points, and even very unique gear that can significantly enhance your power. That does not mean that the entire game is about doing the main missions or the side missions. There's also a big part in terms of exploration, as there are numerous benefits. The game world has many hidden treasures that can increase your health and even rage meter. There are hidden artifacts and rare resources that are needed for crafting and upgrading gear. What you'll also find by exploring are optional bosses, and these can provide some of the toughest challenges but also offer the greatest loot. So in order to get the full experience of the game, you'll want to do a good mix of main mission, side mission, and exploration. Now, I want to dive deeper into some of the most unique features and what makes the game truly stand out. The first one is the very innovative camera system. What you'll notice is that the entire game is presented in one shot, meaning there are no visible cuts or even loading screens. And this no-cut camera style really creates a very immersive experience that allows very seamless transitions between exploration, combat, and even story moments. The next great feature is the combat system, and it is deep and varied. So as Kratos, you have the Leviathan Axe, a very versatile weapon that can be thrown and then recalled, which allows for a mix of ranged but also melee combat. Then you also have the Blade of Chaos, offering a very different combat style with a longer reach and even elemental attacks. But no matter what weapon you use, the important thing is the ability to customize your combat style by equipping different runes and even enchantments, which will provide unique abilities and even buffs. This customization, combined with a variety of enemy types and even combat scenarios, keeps the gameplay very fresh and very unique. That brings me to my next point, the game's difficulty. Now you might have guessed that the game is quite difficult and even hard for new players due to all the mechanics you need to learn. However, the game has many different difficulty levels, which can make it very accessible for even new players and the more casual player as well. So for the new players, the game is generally quite friendly, especially on the easier difficulties. The tutorials and early sections will gradually introduce you to the combat mechanics, exploration, and even the puzzle solving elements. However, the game will not hold your hand forever, and as you progress, there will be more complex mechanics. This could be enemy weaknesses, different weapon combos, and even strategic use of your abilities. So while the game does offer guidance, it won't overly hold your hand, and there will be some level of learning by trial and error. Now, if you're a more hardcore player, you will enjoy the tougher enemies and the optional bosses on the highest difficulties, and these fights will require really good timing, studying the enemy patterns, and really effective use of your abilities but also gear. So no matter your skill level, this game can be played and enjoyed by everyone. The casual player can enjoy the story and exploration on the lower difficulty settings, while the hardcore player can test their skills on the highest difficulty, where the enemies are much tougher and less forgiving. Now let's talk about the game's graphics a bit, and they are honestly stunning, highly detailed, and really brings the Norse world to life. Furthermore, the environments are beautifully designed, with diverse landscapes ranging anywhere from a snowy mountain to a beautiful forest. The character models are also incredibly detailed, making them feel real but also quite expressive. The graphics are not the only strong point. The sound design is equally as impressive, with very realistic sound effects. It really enhances the action. This could be the crunch of snow under your foot or the clash of weapons during combat. Additionally, the voice acting is top-notch and really adding depth to the characters but also the storyline. The music is also epic and atmospheric and will adjust itself based on the current moment of the game. Now with that being said, the game is not perfect and there are several pros and cons we must go over. The first pro is the engaging combat system. It is so satisfying and varied, with a good mix of melee but also ranged attacks. The game even includes a skill tree and upgrade system, so you can customize your own combat style. The next pro is the deep story and character development. The game will offer you a really rich narrative with complex characters. In particular, the relationship between Kratos and his son. And this story is really well written and emotionally impactful. And the final pro is the stunning graphics and immersive sound and music. The game is honestly beautiful and really high detailed. The environments and character design are truly immersive and visually impressive. It makes exploration a true joy. Then on top of that, you add the sound design and the amazing music, and they're equally as impressive, really enhancing the overall atmosphere. And now for the cons. The first con is a challenging difficulty. So while the game does have multiple difficulty settings, some players will definitely find the combat quite challenging, especially in the higher difficulty or later on during the game with the optional boss fights like the Valkyries, as they can be incredibly hard and this might be quite overwhelming for the more casual player. And the other con is the somewhat repetitive side content. So some of the side quests and collectibles are quite repetitive over time, which definitely lessens the overall excitement of exploration, as it can feel quite repetitious. But with all that said, let's grade the game. And God of War gets an amazing 9 out of 10, and it gets this for several reasons. First of all, the exceptional storytelling, the amazing graphics, and the truly immersive gameplay. The game excels in delivering a rich narrative with a deep focus on relationships. The story is also filled with memorable characters and moments that'll keep you engaged throughout the entire game. Then you add the amazing graphics on top of it, offering really breathtaking visuals that really bring the world to life. This could be seen in the attention to detail from the environments, the character models, and even the animations that really enhance the overall immersion. The game's combat system is another great highlight, combining great melee combat but also ranged mechanics, offering a ton of variety of abilities but also upgrades. And this flexibility in combat options and the skill tree system really allows you to tailor your combat based on your own playstyle. However, the game is not perfect and there are several flaws. The difficulty and some of the optional bosses can be quite difficult for the more casual player. Additionally, while the game is semi-open world, some players will find the linear progression quite limiting. Furthermore, the side content can sometimes feel quite repetitive, which may impact your overall excitement for the exploration. But in conclusion, if you want to explore a story-driven experience with a rich narrative, beautiful visuals, and really engaging combat, then God of War is simply a must-buy for you, and it's definitely worth your time and money. For more amazing games, click here.